If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns are entering one of the most pivotal weeks of their preseason, and the entire fan base is glued to every bit of information coming out of Berea. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has promised that before the final preseason showdown with the Los Angeles Rams on Saturday night, the world will finally know who will line up as the starting quarterback for this franchise. It's a decision that doesn't just set the tone for week one, but could ripple through the entire season, potentially defining how Cleveland approaches the future of its roster construction, its offensive identity, and even its playoff aspirations. The choices on the table could not be more fascinating. On one hand, you have Shedeur Sanders, the electric rookie whose ceiling seems almost limitless. On the other, Dillon Gabriel, the steady hand who exudes intelligence and ball security. And looming in the background is the proven veteran Joe Flacco, a man who has already seen everything the NFL can throw at him. The mystery of this quarterback battle is heightened by the fact that Cleveland isn't in rebuild mode, but it's also not exactly considered a Super Bowl favorite. That makes Stefanski's choice all the more nuanced. Pick the raw rookie with upside and you risk growing pains that could cost you early games, but also potentially unlock a spark that could carry the Browns to unexpected heights. Go with the safe rookie in Gabriel, and you may ensure fewer mistakes but cap your offensive explosiveness in the process. Or lean on Flacco, and suddenly you've bought yourself time, but possibly at the cost of momentum and long-term growth. For a team that has spent years searching for quarterback stability, this is yet another turning point. It's no exaggeration to say that this one decision could be the difference between a playoff run and another frustrating what-if season. Shedeur Sanders has been the most exciting storyline of the preseason, and for good reason. Drafted in the 5th round, expectations weren't exactly sky high, but anyone who watched his first snaps in a Browns uniform saw the potential immediately. Sanders plays with a poise that belies his rookie status, showing the kind of pocket, awareness, and decision-making you usually don't see until year 3. And when he lets it rip, the arm talent is undeniable. Comparisons to Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff have surfaced, which might sound modest on the surface, but those are quarterbacks who have led playoff teams and even reached a Super Bowl. If Sanders can follow that trajectory, Cleveland finally gets the spark it has desperately needed. Starting him now would be a gamble, but sometimes gambles pay off in ways that change franchises forever. It's the boldest move available, and maybe bold is exactly what the Browns need. Of course, starting Sanders wouldn't just be about 2025, it would be about staking a claim on the next decade. Cleveland's roster is balanced enough that they don't have to be desperate for a safe option. With a loaded defense and weapons on offense, the infrastructure is already in place to support a young quarterback. If Sanders hits, suddenly you're not just fighting for a playoff berth. You're building a contender with a cost-controlled quarterback for years. It's a dream scenario that every general manager in the NFL craves, and one that has fueled dynasties. The risk, however, is that if Sanders isn't ready, the offense sputters, the team drops early games, and the locker room loses confidence. That's the knife's edge Cleveland is standing on. High ceiling, high stakes. Sanders offers the most exhilarating option, but he also comes with the most uncertainty. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, the Browns' 3rd-round pick, who represents a different type of gamble altogether. Gabriel was selected at number 94 overall because the Browns saw something that screamed reliability. He's smart, he processes the field quickly, and he doesn't put the football in harm's way. For a team with a ferocious defense and strong running game, that profile is extremely appealing. Gabriel may not wow you with flash, but he embodies the idea of a quarterback who simply doesn't lose you games. Coaches love guys like that, especially when the margins in the AFC are razor thin. Choosing Gabriel would be an act of trust in consistency, in patience, and in building stability. And if there's one thing Cleveland has craved since the days of Bernie Kosar, it's stability under center. But choosing Gabriel also comes with its own pitfalls. Once you hand him the job, you're committing to him in a way that could be difficult to walk back. If he struggles early and you bench him, that's a potential hit to his confidence that might linger for years. It could also fracture the locker room if players feel like he was pulled too soon. That's why this decision is so much bigger than just naming a starter for week one. It's about the message Stefanski sends to the entire organization. Gabriel represents safety and patience. But in the NFL, patience is rarely rewarded if it comes at the cost of winning. The Browns would have to be absolutely sure about him, because once they commit, there's no easy undo button. And then we come to Joe Flacco, the veteran option who remains the wild card in this entire discussion. Flacco isn't going to wow you with athleticism, and he's certainly not the quarterback of the future, but what he brings to the table is experience and steadiness. He's seen it all. Playoff battles, hostile environments, late game drives under immense pressure. If Stefanski wants to buy time for Sanders and Gabriel to grow without throwing them into the fire too soon, Flacco is the ideal bridge. He can run the offense, keep the Browns competitive, and provide a steadying presence in the locker room. He's not flashy, but sometimes not flashy is exactly what you need. After all, this is the same Joe Flacco who once carried the Ravens to a Super Bowl title. What Flacco represents is comfort. Cleveland would know exactly what is getting from him, and that's not something you can say about either of the rookies. The Browns could reasonably expect Flacco to keep them in games, protect leads when the defense dominates, and avoid the kind of rookie mistakes that can sink a season before it even begins. And with Sanders and Gabriel waiting in the wings, Flacco could serve as the mentor who prepares them for the eventual takeover. It's not hard to imagine a scenario where Sanders or Gabriel becomes the starter mid-season once they have more time to learn the system and adjust to the NFL. Speed. Choosing Flacco would delay the inevitable, but in a way that cushions the landing. Sometimes slow and steady really does win the race. This quarterback competition isn't just about who looks best in practice or who makes the right read in a preseason game. It's about identity. What kind of team do the Cleveland Browns want? To be in 2025? Do they want to swing for the fences with Sanders and try to ignite a franchise-altering run? Do they want to embrace steadiness with Gabriel, betting on intelligence and consistency? Or do they want to trust the old veteran, riding his experience while letting the young guns learn from the sidelines? These aren't just tactical questions, they're philosophical ones. Stefanski's decision will define how the Browns see themselves. Bold risk takers, cautious builders, or pragmatic caretakers. Each path has merit, but only one can be chosen. So as Saturday approaches and the tension builds, Browns fans are left in a familiar position, waiting for a quarterback decision that could shape their season and maybe their future. The choice between Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, and Joe Flacco is more than a depth chart formality. It's a defining moment for Kevin Stefanski and for the franchise itself. No matter who is named starter, the decision will be dissected, debated, and possibly second-guessed. But one thing is for sure, the Browns can't afford to get this wrong. In a loaded AFC, the margin between contender and pretender is razor thin. Stefanski's choice won't just decide who takes the first snap, it could decide the trajectory of Cleveland's entire season. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Cleveland Browns fans woke up today buzzing with a rumor that feels more like a bombshell than a casual piece of off-season chatter. The team has reportedly secured offensive lineman ALARIC Jackson, a name that has been floating in conversations around the league as one of those underrated but quietly effective big men in the trenches. Jackson, who carved out a reputation as a tough, versatile blocker, capable of shoring up both the interior and edge responsibilities, now finds himself at the heart of speculation that the Browns are making a serious push to fortify their offensive line depth. If true, this isn't just a move to add another body, it's a statement about priorities. Protecting the quarterback, stabilizing the pocket, and ensuring the run game doesn't stall out in critical moments have all been points of contention for the franchise. And Jackson's arrival might be the missing piece. When you think about Cleveland's trajectory in recent seasons, the narrative has often been about missed opportunities. Injuries, inconsistency, a quarterback, and flashes of brilliance overshadowed by frustrating breakdowns have left fans yearning for a year where things finally align. The offensive line has been both a strength and a source of concern. While it boasts established names, depth has been questionable. And when injuries pile up, cracks quickly appear. Jackson's rumored signing seems to address this issue head on. At 6'7" with long arms and a physical play style, embodies the kind of insurance policy and potential starter that could stabilize a unit constantly under scrutiny. This isn't about headlines. It's about infrastructure, about building the kind of foundation that allows skilled players to shine without constantly glancing over their shoulders for incoming pressure. The timing of this potential deal couldn't be more telling. We are in a period where the AFC is loaded with powerhouse defenses, and every playoff caliber team knows you cannot survive without reinforcements up front. For the Browns, who watched last season's campaign get derailed by untimely protection breakdowns, adding Jackson sends a clear message. Lessons have been learned. It signals that the franchise is unwilling to let its offensive line be a liability again. This isn't necessarily a splash sign to grab headlines like a quarterback or wide receiver might, but insiders know that the quiet strategic moves in the trenches often dictate whether a team thrives or falters. For Jackson, stepping into this environment offers both challenge and opportunity. The Browns are essentially daring him to become a reliable anchor, and the whispers suggest he's ready. There's also the human side of this rumor, the journey of ALARIC Jackson himself. Coming into the league as an undrafted player, he has battled perceptions, clawed his way into relevancy, and now potentially lands a contract that validates his persistence. For Cleveland fans, this is the type of underdog story that resonates. They know what it's like to be overlooked, to have the world doubt, and then to rise when no one expects it. If Jackson indeed joins the roster, the narrative isn't just about his size and strength. It's about his resilience. Those intangibles matter in a locker room that thrives on grit and determination. Veterans in the Browns line group could see in him a reflection of their own fights to stay in the league, and that dynamic could create a bond that transcends the X's and O's of football. The broader question this raises is how it shifts the Browns' overall offensive philosophy. A stronger line means flexibility in play calling. It opens the door for more complex protection schemes, gives quarterbacks additional time to scan the field, and crucially, allows the running backs to exploit gaps with consistency. Nick Chubb, returning from injury concerns, could particularly benefit from having an extra layer of protection up front. Analysts have long said that a healthy Chubb behind a sturdy wall is a nightmare for defenses, and Jackson's addition could transform that theory into reality. Suddenly, the Browns' offense doesn't just look functional, it looks threatening. Defenses would need to respect both the pass and the run, creating a balance that has often been missing. In a league where games are won in the margins, this kind of reinforcement could shift Cleveland's trajectory entirely. Of course, every rumor comes with skepticism. Fans know all too well that whispers of deals often fade into nothing, leaving speculation as the only residue. But there's a particular energy around this Jackson story that feels different. The insiders reporting it aren't just tossing out names. They're connecting dots about Cleveland's recent moves, cap space decisions, and clear intent to bulk up in the trenches. It feels strategic, not accidental. And while official confirmation may still be pending, the idea of Jackson in a Browns uniform has already taken root in fan discussions. Social media threads light up with mock lineups, imagining him slotting in as a stabilizing presence. Even rival fan bases have begun acknowledging that if this move is finalized, Cleveland could instantly become one of the tougher offensive fronts to face in the conference. Looking at the AFC North context, the rumor grows even more compelling. This is a division built on defense and toughness. Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, all teams that pride themselves on brutal front seven play. The Browns can't afford to enter those battles with a line that's anything less than elite. Adding, Jackson could be Cleveland's quiet counterpunch, a way of saying we're not just reacting, we're preparing to dictate terms. Imagine the matchups. Jackson squaring off against elite pass rushers, holding the edge, buying those critical 2 or 3 extra seconds for a quarterback to make a play. Those moments often separate wins from losses in divisional games. The thought of that kind of reinforcement is enough to give Browns fans a surge of confidence heading into the grind of another season. The rumor isn't just about a player, it's about a statement of intent. It's worth noting too how this plays into the psychology of the team. Every locker room needs signs that management is listening, that front offices are investing in. The areas players themselves worry about. Offensive linemen, often unsung heroes, notice when reinforcements arrive. Quarterbacks notice when their protection is bolstered. Running backs feel the difference when holes open just a little wider. If the Browns truly did secure Jackson, it's a morale boost as much as it is a tactical improvement. It tells the players, we believe in your potential and we're giving you the tools to succeed. That intangible effect often doesn't make headlines, but it builds trust, unity, and momentum. The Browns have long sought an identity beyond underdog narratives, and this kind of move suggests they're building toward being taken seriously as contenders. Fans, meanwhile, are already running with the idea, crafting narratives of their own. For them, this isn't just about what happens on Sundays. It's about hope, pride, and the thrill of imagining what could be. They talk about finally seeing an offensive line that doesn't crumble under pressure, about the possibility of sustained drives, about a quarterback standing tall in the pocket without panic. They imagine Nick Chubb bursting through holes created by a rejuvenated line, and wide receivers catching passes from a quarterback given enough time to make proper reads. That's the beauty of football rumors. They spark imagination, fuel debates, and give a fan base something to rally around in the quiet months. Whether true or not, the Jackson chatter has already succeeded in uniting Browns fans in anticipation. A much-needed lift for a community always craving belief. Ultimately, whether the Browns' reported deal with ALARIC Jackson is confirmed or fizzles out, the rumor itself reveals something important. Cleveland is no longer content with patchwork solutions. The hunger to compete, the urgency to build a roster capable of surviving the brutal AFC gauntlet is undeniable. Jackson represents more than size and skill. He symbolizes progress, foresight, and a recognition of the battles ahead. For the Browns, the offensive line has always been the hinge point between disappointment and dominance. If Jackson indeed joins, it could mark the beginning of a more stable, more dangerous version of Cleveland football, one that finally matches the aspirations of its loyal fans. And if it remains just a whisper, then it's a reminder of what could be, a tantalizing glimpse into the possibilities that make football's rumor mill one of the most compelling parts of the sport. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!